Hello, I'm Manoush Zomorodi with World Risk and Insurance News. In this program, the CIAA reveals FSA fines in the UK. Allianz expects a hard road to growth in 2012. Accenture and AM Best on microinsurance, and a new legislative brief looks at interpretation. All this and more, you're watching World Risk and Insurance News on RIN TV. We begin with a look at FSA regulations in the UK. According to the Chartered Institute of Internal Auditors, weaknesses in risk management systems cost financial services firms £38.5 million in fines in 2011. That's a full 60% of all fines levied by the FSA in 2011. CIIA Chief Executive Ian Peters said the scale of these fines is a clear signal that the management of risk at banks and other financial firms is under the FSA's microscope. Allianz, Europe's largest primary insurer, expects 2012 to be no less challenging than last year. With pressure on earnings from low interest rates, high cat losses, and write-downs on investments due to the sovereign debt crisis, insurers are seeking higher prices. In a letter to investors, Allianz Chief Executive Michael Diekman said he is looking for solid growth in the P&C business, while revenue will remain stable in its life health operations, despite difficult market conditions. Microinsurance is part of many carriers' growth plans. A recent paper published by Accenture reveals why. According to Accenture, microinsurance is developed for the extremely poor, people living on less than $2 a day with few assets and in need of humanitarian aid. About 135 million people within this population insure themselves, their property, or their crops. Accenture estimates the potential insurance market there is somewhere between $30 and $50 billion in annual premiums. Demand is growing more than 10% a year, with premium increases outstripping those in more developed markets. AM Best recently took a look at the microinsurance market. Here are highlights of the AM Best report. Its author, Andrea Keenan, talks about how carriers are approaching the microinsurance market.
The insurance is geared towards the lower income populations. What we like to think about is that it has simple coverage. So you have just a single risk that's being covered, like loss of life or loss of an agricultural crop. So it's geared towards those who can afford some insurance premium, but at a very low cost. In producing a product that's meant for this income segment, often an insurer will work with these community organizations so that it can be distributed to those people. On the business side, sometimes these programs will have very standardized products so that claims adjusting will not be a factor, and so that the pay of claims is swift and predictable. But the ultimate goal is really to provide a sustainable business model that doesn't require that capital to keep it going. And not all microinsurance programs are financed by donor organizations. The hope is that this business model will be sustainable for the long term without such assistance. The products are so small that you have to be innovative in your way of distributing them and paying claims so that it is actually providing profit. Places that have been very welcoming to microinsurance from a regulator standpoint have been, for example, the Philippines and India. Brazil just recently added some microinsurance legislation so that they would allow that sector to grow a little more in those regions.
If you'd like more on microinsurance, visit the RIN TV On Demand library. The language of insurance can seem foreign to those outside the industry. Even to those in the industry, the interpretation of insurance policies can be the subject of debate and dispute. In this edition of Legislative Brief, we spoke to Professor Lawrence Solin from Brooklyn Law School about the evolution of insurance language and the interpretation of wordings used in policies. Here are the highlights from our discussion.
The interpretation of insurance policies is of the utmost importance both to the insurance company and to the policyholders. Unusual things happen in this world, and sometimes the parties had not thought through exactly what would occur with respect to their insurance when something strange occurs. Between that doctrine and a plain language movement in which consumer documents are being drafted more and more in language that people can understand, the language of insurance policies has actually gotten simpler over the past several decades. The result has been that the courts have been more sympathetic with the language being used by the insurance carriers and have been more comfortable giving the policies a literal interpretation. And at least within American courts, we're dealing with a period of time in which courts seem to be more interested in literal language and less interested in divining the intent of the parties. So the trend right now in the interpretation of insurance policies is something that the insurance companies will like, because it tends to respect the language that was used in the policy more than, say, 40 years ago.
For more of our interview with Professor Lawrence Solin, visit the RIN TV On Demand library. You'll also find previous editions of Legislative Brief focusing on the U.S. Affordable Care Act and U.S. tort liability. Well, that's our program. I'm Manoush Zomorodi reporting from New York. Join us next time for more world risk and insurance news on RIN TV.